Tried to record before. Oh, now it's working.
Yep.
Thank you. Thanks.
Two of you.
So while Emily's getting situated, let me just go ahead and get started with the question. So, Dustin, and why would you want to apply for an internship at the Statehouse? What's wrong with you, and why did you decide to do it?
Dustin, you can start unless you want me to.
Yeah, sure, I can go ahead. For me, I just wanted to get a more in-depth experience with politics, and just kind of get a more idea how the process works. I did have some familiarization with the process prior to that, just with experience with the Humane Society, and lobbying efforts. So I kind of had a little niche there. And I also love the city. I love Indy. So I think just the combination of my love for politics, love for the city, and it's being able to have a different experience and something that can help build a resume in the future, and can open doors that I may not be aware of right now, and maybe give opportunities that may come out. And so I mean, pretty much all that together is why I wanted to do it. And I mean, overall, I liked it. I enjoyed my time down there, so I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, a lot of it's similar. For me, I didn't even know about it until on a whim. I was in student government, and some of you may know him probably. He was a part of SJ before, and part of this organization. Matt Ruiz. He let me know about it, so I looked into it, did some research, and I called down there and set up an interview. It was something that seemed interesting to me. Definitely going down to Indy and being part of the legislative process. I didn't really know too much about it other than that, but sent my application, got accepted, and it was really worthwhile. Enjoyed being down in Indy too. It's definitely a good experience.
Okay, so speaking of applying for it, what was the application process like for you, and if for the students that's on this call who might be interested in applying, what are some tips and suggestions you would give them? So
I can go. It's because we're two of us here. So for me, I don't know exactly which one Dustin went to. I ended up, just to clarify, I ended up joining the Indiana House Republicans for the session. There's 4 in-session internships you can do, as far as I know too, with the House. I mean, there's always more internships, but there is the House Democrats, House Republicans, and then Senate Democrats and Senate Republicans. Whoever you ask, you'll hear varying experiences. They're definitely, everyone's different, but essentially all you have to do is go online and look up, for instance, Indiana House Republicans or Indiana House Democrats. If you go through their website, you should be able to find the internship. I was actually trying to go through it. Yeah, if you look up Indiana House Republican internship, it's just right there actually for application now. And they have a online application that you have to do. I believe you have to write some things, put in your GPA, have some references. And it's, as far as I understand, it's relatively competitive in the sense that they have a lot of applicants. And then if they select you, they will call you, and then you will go down to Indy. And like I said, I only can speak for the House Republicans. I interned for the Emily, the House Republicans during the long session of last year. So my advice would be just to be yourself. I mean, like I said, it's not like you think an internship is. At least for the House Republicans. I've heard the House Senate, for at least for the Republicans, isn't as good. That's just my bias. I don't know exactly. I didn't do it, but they do appreciate you being yourself, and it's not work that you're going to be just like go get a coffee. It's definitely like you have a lot of responsibilities within the session. So they are looking for people that can fulfill a job for a time being. It's not just like we're going to teach you things. Now you do learn a lot, but they do need people that are capable to do some important work for a representative, because you're working hand in hand with legislators in Indiana. So, but like I said, just be yourself, and then you just have to apply on those websites.
Thank you, Nathan. Dustin, what would you like to add?
Yeah, so my advice, firstly, I mean, I don't know how far everyone along is in their degree here, but and it is a competitive process, like Nathan said. They get a lot of applicants for this on both sides. There are actually some people that we had that applied for the Democratic caucus that actually ended up in the Republican caucus, and that just kind of happens because there's a lot of people that do apply, and some just kind of want to see the other side of it. But my advice overall, though, if you're able to, I actually worked for HRCC prior to doing the internship, which it helped greatly. HRCC is the House Republican Campaign Committee. So I worked with Julie Altoff, who is a former state representative, and I worked with a couple other state representatives around the state, just working on their campaign, making phone calls, knocking on doors, working on surveys, making walkbooks. But they look for that to see, like, especially like if you want to be on the Republican side or the Democrat side, hypothetically, they look to see if you have experience like helping the party out, because that will go a long way. They're not against bringing people on that have no experience whatsoever, but if you're able to bring that to the table, that's an edge that will give you over maybe somebody else. The other thing with the application is, I mean, don't lie on it. I mean, it'll be, it's pretty straightforward. They're not out to like, trick you up or anything like that. It's a pretty straightforward application. You can type in Indiana, like if you're Republican, you can type in Indiana House Republicans, .com, I believe, and then it'll have the link like right on the home page. It'll be like the first thing that they advertise for. And you just fill it out, like your GPA. And I do believe you need, Nathan mentioned references, but I do believe you will need 2 or 3 recommendation letters. So you do have to get those from, some people, I believe I got one of mine from Professor Rupp and Dr. Rinker. I don't remember if I got one from you or not. I'm not sure offhand, but yeah, I got 1 or 2 from professors at PNW, and then I got another couple from just people at my work. So definitely you're going to need that for when you apply. And then some questions they might ask during the interview. One of the, I think, ones that stood out the most is like, how well do you work with others, or how well can you manage like a multitude of tasks? If you have a good answer to those questions, I mean, it's definitely going to benefit you. They're actually, at least on my side when I interviewed, they actually want you to be relaxed. They make it, like, hey, like, just come in. They want you to be relaxed and everything. So if you're able to have fun with the interview too, I recommend it. Like, I threw in a few jokes in there with mine, and they liked it. So I mean, if you're able to make it, personable and professional at the same time, I mean, that's going to go a long way also. But I mean, overall, I would say you don't have a chance if you don't apply. So I mean, I would just say do it, and the worst they can tell you is no, and then you can always reach out and maybe find out like what you can do better. But when I talked with Tyler Murrell, who is the Deputy Legislative Director down for the House Republicans, he is they are trying to get more Northwest Indiana people down there because they get a lot from Indy just because of the population, and they have a lot of colleges down there, so there's a lot from Indy that get it. But they are trying to recruit more Northwest Indiana people. So I mean, definitely, it could definitely help you out there too. So they're trying to get more there.
So if they're trying to recruit more people from Northwest Indiana, and both of you gave some really good advice to the students on this call. What are some things that you wish you would have known either before you started applying for it or before you began your internships there?
I'm not entirely sure. I suppose what I want to know, I guess, is it does help. It would have helped me a lot to know what the day to day is. Like like honestly, when I first got in there, I was super nervous, like if I would be able to handle the job. Obviously, I could tell you guys that might be helpful for you, but I personally really didn't know too much about it. I knew I would be helping legislators, but I didn't know to what extent or what my job would be. Like I said, I joined it. I just did it on a whim. It sounded something interesting, so I went for it, and I very much loved that I did it. Also, what it might be helpful if you are looking to it, what I didn't know is housing. I did not know you are going to have to pay for housing. They have some options that they give you that could be helping, especially since we're from Northwest Indiana. There's some people that are from Indianapolis, they just drive from home. It works out for them. But I had to rent an apartment. I got a roommate, another person from Northwest Indiana, and we managed to room together. So it's cut down on costs. But that is something that might be very important for you if you did not know that you do get paid. A lot of my money went straight into funding for my housing. And I also was beneficial enough to receive a travel scholarship that Oyang helped me receive. That helped me a lot. But you will be living in Indianapolis, so they're either going to be living in downtown where you're going to have costs for living, or you're going to be living outside where you're going to have to drive every day. So that is something that I would have liked to know. I worked through it, but if someone just went down there, didn't expect that might be a hindrance. So I thought that might be important to share.
Yeah, so for me, it's kind of the same thing. I didn't really know, like, I mean, I knew like the general idea of like what the tasks would be for like my role. But I didn't like realize, like, I guess how much more there may be. They do make you do a lot, which, I mean, it was great. I mean, the day went by fast, and you get to like interact, with a lot of state reps. And even, sometimes senators here and there. But yeah, housing was one. That was another. It wasn't an issue for me per se because my brother lived down there already. So I just actually ended up with him. But they do give you a list. They'll send a list out with like housing options, and then they actually ask everybody that's being hired on if you guys want to like roommate together. They do try to throw that out there so you guys can maybe try to save a bit of money during that stay there. The advantage of the short session is it's less rent you have to pay. The short session is their non-budget session, so that is usually from second week in January till about usually early March. They close down. It's usually like March 12th or 13th. So you'll save money there, but you also you kind of don't get the full, you get an experience, but it's going to be a little bit more hectic because everything's crammed in a short amount of time. The advantage of the budget session is it's a bit more spaced out. It goes till about end of April. I believe my session in 2019 ended end of April. And then they kept us on for another week after, just to help like the LAs. So that's another option too to keep in mind. I didn't know that was going to be a thing at the end. Is they'll actually ask if you want to stay a week after session's over to help, which is cleaning up, getting things in a row for the LA. So they return back to Sinai, and then everything's kind of slow down for a while. In terms of tasks, though, you're going to be doing a lot of running around. You're going to be going upstairs, downstairs, realizing you've forgot something, got to run back upstairs, go back downstairs. And it's honestly quicker to take the stairs than it is the elevator. So the elevator will probably sit there until session is over some days. So
The elevator's a trap.
Take the stairs if you can. It's good exercise for you. And just stay on top of everything. What I did personally is I colored my folders for each rep I had. So organization is another big thing. So just make sure you have that going in. You'll be printing off a lot. You're going to be wasting a lot of paper. It's going to be a little hectic. And the first couple of weeks are going to be very, you're going to feel lost for maybe like the first couple of weeks, just getting in the hang of it, getting everybody, getting, acclimated with IQ, and just the process itself, and then meeting all the reps, kind of like what they like done, what they don't like done. So just bear with it. it will get better. You'll start, building rapport with everybody. But my biggest thing is just be very organized, when you get there, and just stay on top of everything. And you'll be all right. And then for Jasmine, just to answer your question really quick. Most difficult task I think I had was, off the top of my head, I would probably have to say not keeping track of 4 reps was hard. But just each rep wanted something totally different. So just maintaining that and trying to, make sure you don't get confused with somebody else. That's probably, one of the more difficult things, because you have people calling in all the time. You have emails coming in, you have mail coming in. So that's probably the most difficult thing, is just trying to maintain the whole array of just things coming in and out, and then trying to make sure the right rep gets this and that. So that's where having the folders comes in very well, is you can just file it right after it's done, and then just give it to them and see what they want with it. So
for me, I would have to go along those lines. He was saying a lot of things. Just touch on what he was saying before I answer your question, Jasmine. He's talking about IQ and talking to people. A lot of the work you're doing is constituent work. So you are dealing with, at least for the House of Reps, I think he might have been with House Republicans too, from what I hear, is you're going to have 3 to 4 representatives that you are working for, but you're actually working for in LA. My LA was Jack Thomas. So he represented it, Representative Miller, Representative Goodrich, and Representative Pressel. So a lot of your hardest stuff is going to be trying to, you're going to act different in front of different reps because they want things differently. So you have to be on top of all their things. Like you said, keeping organized is very important. So the hardest thing for me was actually, yes, legislative assistant. Yes, sorry, Meg. We're throwing all these terms out. IQ, for those who don't know, is the database for constituents that you'll put all of your emails and you'll sort through them. It helps organize data for your reps and legislators. And you'll get the hang of it. That seems like a lot, but once you get the hang of doing it, it's really easy. What really is hard is when you have a rep who wants things done a specific way. I don't know if Dustin had that. 2 of my reps were pretty easy to deal with in the sense of what they wanted. I had one rep, Representative Goodrich, who also was the CEO of Gaylor Electric. So he had everything set up specifically outside of the Indiana House email. He had an email with Gaylor, which I had to make an account for, and he had his own assistant that I had to work with. So for me, my hardest thing was actually working around his parameters, which is entirely in his prerogative. You are not given a strict job. Your job is there are things that everyone will do within the internship, but really it comes down to who you're tasked with. The responsibilities you're given are from your LA, and those are from your reps, and how much him or her wants to give you is definitely depends on how much they trust you. I know for me, Jack started me off pretty easy, but once I got into it, I think I had one of the more heavy workloads because me and Jack really hit it off. So you take what you can handle. There's no shame in not being able to handle more. But the job is really adaptive. What I did one day was really never the same the other day. Now came into a routine, but you have different bills. A lot of times you're researching bills, trying to set up meetings. You'll attend meetings. And then if you get lucky enough, like I was, if your reps trust you enough, sometimes they didn't want to attend some meetings. So I did the meetings myself and I knew enough about the bills, and that was really, really fun. But that is hard. I do a lot of research and a lot of time on my own because most of your job, like I said, is handling constituent things, whether that's organizing meetings or some people will call you very angry. You have to be able to, that's where being calm comes in. You have to be able to be on a phone and not be on there for an hour, but also like calmly answer questions and get them on so you get to the next part of your job. But basically, like I said, the hardest point for me was handling the very specific parameters of one of my reps.
And then Dustin, if you don't have anything to add for Jasmine's question, I do have a question for both of you. I think you both took classes while also doing the internship down at the Statehouse. What would you say to students who are interested in applying about balancing your schoolwork and the work expected of you at the internship, and maybe some advice you would give to them around like class schedules and just handling the two at once?
Yeah, so my recommendation, if you're able to, is take online. I mean, obviously you kind of have to, but they do offer a college credit course down at the Statehouse. I believe it's 1 or 2 nights a week. It's 3 credit hours, and it kind of just is more like a state government oriented class. So they just talk about like state policy, things like that. I didn't take it, but just from talking with interns that I was with that did, that is an option they have for you guys. Um, Also, Professor Colucci was one of my professors during that time. He was actually able to extend additional credits for, I believe it was Paul it was a Paul 400 course, but it was like an independent study. So he was actually able to give me 9 credit hours for the internship. And all I had to do was submit like a progress report I think it was about like every 3 weeks or something like that. And you just get a progress report, like things you did for the day, for the week, any major events that happened, any bad things that happened, any good things that happened, like most memorable moments, things like that. And they just look for, that throughout the semester or the duration of the stay. So I would definitely take advantage of that because that's one class and you're getting 9 credits for it. So if you have like Pal electives that you need filled up, you can use that for that. In terms of managing courses, I was a full course load. I want to say, I think I did 15 or 18 credit hours. I can't remember, including the internship class. So I think it added a bit more. But it's manageable as long as you like just tell yourself like, hey, this is going to be done. It will get done. But I would definitely try to not, if you can avoid it, don't make that semester very rigorous for you. Like I would say, try to enjoy it so you can enjoy it. I mean, it's an experience that you're only going to be able to do once unless you do like an LA or get an LA role or, work in a different realm there. But it can be done. Just make sure you manage your time well. And, maybe try not to make your course load too heavy or at least maybe like too difficult of classes for that time being that you're there. Because you're not going to get any downtime during the session or anything like that to do homework, except on your lunch break. But even then, like, you kind of just want to divulge away from everything and, just kind of relax and, hang out with everybody. Because I mean, it will be needed. And the other thing to keep in mind is session will go over toward the end and toward the middle where the deadline, where the bills flip sides. So basically what that is once the House finishes their bills and they're passed, they're done on first, second, third reading, they're going to flip over to the Senate and the Senate bills are going to come to the House. So when that time comes around, there's going to be a lot of holdovers. I know I would say probably for like the last week, during the middle portion of session, I was probably there till at least 6-7 p.m., give or take. And then toward the end of session, we're assigned eyes almost here. About the last week is about the same, but there was actually some nights you're there till about 10:30. You have committee deadlines, so keep in mind of that also when doing your homework. And reach out to your bosses. They are very helpful with making sure that your work stays on par with what you're trying to do. They're very understanding that you guys got coursework and everything like that. They will let you go for the state government class if you do opt to take that. So you will be excused from work that day, or after if you have to leave early. So they are lenient with that. But yeah, just time management well, and you'll be all right.
Yeah, for me, I would say just know yourself. I know me. I know I'm not the type of person to be able to handle a really big thing and then also a lot of homework. So I took less hours. I went down to 3 classes only, which is my load. But I know other people. I know Matt told me he did a full course load, and I think Dustin said he did too, and that's perfectly fine. And I like how he mentioned, you want to have fun. This is a good experience. You're gonna be working hard. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be exactly easy, but it's manageable, and you'll get into it. Like, you'll really feel like you're doing something, work that's like accomplished. Like it's worthwhile work. And then like afterwards, like I don't know with COVID this year, it might be different, but for me, like, I'm glad I didn't do a lot of classes because we would go out, we'd go out to bars, we would go to Pacers games, we'd enjoy ourselves after work, like with the intern class. So I mean, it definitely becomes like you'll make some friends. I definitely talk to a lot of people. I still talk to him because Dustin, I guess, did it backwards because I'm working with HRCC with Julie Oltoff right now. So I used to keep in contact with people within that job. I got that job afterwards. So there's experience after, but somehow Dustin flipped it on how he got into it. But regardless, I think he would agree that there's a lot of fun that can be had. Indy's a good city. I mean, it's not the biggest in the world, but I mean, you like to explore it and you just go out. We would go to Top Golf, like I said, we go out to bars, and it was just a good time after work. And then you work hard, and you play hard, and then you go home and you do it again. And it's not a bad gig. So I mean, if you have a lot of school, you may not have to be able to do that every night, which is not a bad thing. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. If you think you need to take classes, it's definitely manageable, but you just know that you won't be able to do things after work as much. So it's up to you.
Okay, thanks you two. Are there any questions, either written or I guess oral, that anyone wants to ask right now? Because I do have a question if no one has one right now. No one? Okay. So I know a big thing. Oh, Yodi, do you have one?
Yeah, sorry. I just asking more for the application process, from starting the application to like turning it in and collecting your references and such things like that. How long did it take you to get that whole thing done? Like,
so I went online and did the application, and you need to submit the references in the application. So I looked and saw that you did. So I went and got letters of rec from my boss at the work I was doing at the time, and 2 professors at PNW, and then I submitted that as a whole, and they were surprisingly good about getting back to me very quickly. Now I applied way before this, like about right now. Last year I was doing my interview in Indianapolis, so I had an application in, so I don't know how fast they'll be within that, but I know they got back to me within like 3 weeks, which was really fast. I got a call from Indy, didn't really expect much of it, but I was like, maybe it'll be them. And I called and they were like, yeah. So basically Speaker Bosma, who's no longer the speaker there, LA said, because she also works with a lot of this with the game, because technically you work for the speaker, but you work for Tyler if you work, this is just House Republicans again, and they got me down there, and I went to Indy, dressed up, got a suit, shaved, looked all nice and spiffy. FYI, would be in a suit every single day, so you might need to also, if you don't have any, you got to buy some. And I did my interview, and then they sent me home with a writing assignment. It wasn't too hard. I sent it in, and then I found out I got hired at the end of November, middle of December, because they have to go through a lot of applicants. So right now is more towards the end of when you can submit, but that doesn't necessarily penalize you. So if you applied, let's say this week, I would expect you to get a call back within 3 weeks if you're accepted. But I mean, I also don't want to like give you anxiety if you don't. I just know for me, they were very good about it. Dustin might have been different, but
thanks.
Yeah, expect something pretty rather quickly. I mean, I submitted, I think, my application in early October, and they reached out to me right before Christmas or not Christmas, I'm sorry, Halloween, to just obtain documentation, everything like that. And I mean, they called and everything. So expect, 2 to 3 weeks, you'll hopefully hear something. I imagine they'll let you know either way. So yeah, it'll be quick, and they are good about maintaining that communication with you throughout the process. They'll call you if they need anything, or if something's messed up, anything like that, they'll let you know. And then the writing assignment's fairly simple, that Nathan mentioned on. They'll either let you take it home, or they'll even let you stay there and do it. It takes maybe like 30 minutes, if that. Just make it look professional, and just use good grammar, punctuation, spelling, all that stuff. And yeah, but they're good. They'll get in contact with you really quick.
Cool, thank you, appreciate it.
So the application.
Oh,
the
sorry.
The application itself, that would be only like, I don't know, like an hour to fill out or less, would you say?
I mean, if you have the references already done, I mean, it's hard. I don't remember the exact like what was in it per se, but I mean, I went through it pretty quickly. The application is fairly simple. They just want basic information like GPA, leadership experience, things that you can just put in. This is the first part is just to get people. I mean, I'm not trying to be crude, but I'm sure if someone who with like a 2.2 low GPA applied, I don't know if they'd be accepted, but I'm pretty sure everyone there was pretty fairly good. Not to say like 3.8 only. Like I had a 3.5, and I know someone there had a 3.0, but they're just looking for relatively good workers based off like a parameter. And then from there, they don't even accept you from there. Then you do the interview, and if you get an in-person interview, then they're considering you. And then from there, it's just that took an hour when I was there. It was a fairly long interview. But the actual application is pretty straightforward. If you have the letters, that was the longest part. Is just getting people to do letters of recommendation for you. But other than that, it was the application.
For sure. One quick thing before we move on real quick, I just had a question. As far as like what you needed to bring, did you need to bring anything specific to the interview? Like as far as like obviously you said, make sure you're wearing the proper attire and such, but like was there anything that you should have on hand?
I brought a copy of my letters again. At least when I did it, I photocopied it to them originally. I just brought it with, and I brought a notebook just to write things with. It's pretty much it. It's a resume. Yeah, you need a resume, and then, yeah, that's pretty much it that I brought.
Awesome, thanks.
Is there any way? Is it okay if I just share the screen with you guys really quick, just to show you what the application looks like?
It's a great idea. Should I see if I can give you like co-host ability?
Yeah, if you make him co-host, he'll be able to. Yeah, there he goes. Yeah, he's got it.
I think
You got it. Okay.
Oh.
Cool.
All right. Is everyone able to see it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the application. It is fairly straightforward. This is the Republican one. The Democratic one is fairly similar. So you just fill out your basic information. And actually, let me go back here so you guys know where to go. I'll just walk you through it just from the beginning. So you'll type in Indiana House Republicans if that's obviously the one you want to try to apply for. You'll click on it, and then it'll literally be advertised on their front page, and then you can just hit apply. And then let it load now on this. See if it wants to. There we go. Okay. And then just your basic information. I mean, this is all pretty straightforward. They'll ask for there's your GPA, your academic standing. And then okay, so political affiliation. Do not let this trip you up. If you're hesitant to declare it, if you're a Democrat and you're applying for the Republican one because you want to, or maybe there's not enough spots open or whatever it may be, don't hesitate. Still try to do it. They will, there was Democrats that were on the Republican side that, they accepted. So they're open to that stuff, and both sides are. So don't be hesitant to, declare that if you don't want to. If you want to be independent, they don't care about that either. As long as you show that you want to be there, you want to work, and, you want to get a good experience, they're going to be more receptive to that. And then here are the 4 positions that you can apply for while you're there. Legislative is what I did, and they kind of just give a brief description of what you may be doing. Now, granted, what me and Nathan mentioned, it seems pretty simple on this, but it's very more in depth once you get into it.
Do you want to? Sorry to interrupt you, Dustin. Do you just want to run through the 4 jobs, because it wasn't clear when I did it too. I'll go through.
Yeah. So
legislative is what we're talking about. Everything you've heard, that is legislative. Not to say that there isn't other jobs. But communication is the other big one. That will be more of like your social media. That's like comm majors. It's honestly like you're writing social media, you're getting press releases. It's a cool job. I'm not to say it's not. I consider it because I was a comm major, but I did legislative. It goes over too, but that will be something completely different. In fact, you'll have a completely different boss. He said Tyler Morrell, that was our boss. He's the head of the LAs. If you want a legislative experience, you want to be a legislative assistant. Fiscal is like money. There's only one fiscal intern within the house. So if you want to go for that one, I don't know if you would. You're going to be just doing Ways and Means, which is just all the economic bills. Now, if you do, just know that there's only one selected. And then policy, that is another one that people that in our major would probably be really interested in. I will say again, this one is another really competitive one. We had I think we had 3 policy when I did it. This one is like, if you're lucky enough to be the policy, like you'll be on TV you'll be speaking the bills, and it's a lot of like researching bills. You're not working for any rep, you're working for the caucus. So say Representative Goodrich has a question about the legality of his bills. This is where like a lot of lawyer talk comes in. You're just researching. I don't know exactly what they did. I only ask questions. That's why I'm specifying. But from what I hear, it's a pretty sweet gig. But like I said, fiscal is only 1. This one's only 2 to 3. So that's there's about I don't know exactly how many, but there's not a big amount of legislative or comm too. But there is really small amounts for policy and fiscal. So be careful when you're applying, because you only can pick. You could say which ones you want to, but legislative is what we did, and it's just the standard. Not to say it does not have its own good experience, because it's nothing you'll ever do again before. But policy is one that I think you guys would be interested in. But like I said, there's only like 2 people that get it. So. Your mic's muted, Dustin.
I'm good. Yeah, Nathan pretty much hit the nail right on the head there. There's gonna be a lot more legislative interns versus the fiscal and policy interns. The comms interns and the LA or legislative interns will actually all be in the same rooms together. There are some comm interns that will end up upstairs, and it's kind of like a little cramped. I shouldn't say cramped, but it's not a very big area. But the layout's going to look like kind of a cubicle. You're going to have 3 to 4 LAs with their interns in there also. And then you're also going to have a press secretary that's in there, and they're also going to have their interns. So there'll be about probably give or take 8 to 12 people in a room, depending on where you're at. And the layout's not bad. There are some rooms that have like windows, so you can kind of look outside and check it out. And there are a few rooms that are smack dab and there's no windows or anything, so it's just going to be straight like just wall. But yeah, you'll be paired up with comm and legislative together. The other 2 are separate in their own areas. From what I heard, though, fiscal policy is it's a very challenging one, and you have a very important role. The intern that was for my group, he said he loved it, but he just said it was very, very busy, and we were going to budget year also. So this 2021 is going to be a budget year, and I would actually definitely recommend doing it this year, especially with COVID. I think it's going to be very interesting to see like how they tackle that, and kind of what their plans are. And that's definitely going to be an issue this year, because there's going to be a state shortfall with money coming in. So that's definitely going to be addressed. And I mean, that may be a good challenge for someone here that would want to try and do that, if you're good with numbers and want to try to do that route. But back to just finishing the application. I mean, this stuff's pretty straightforward. This is all it's going to be. It's just this list. You just list your work experience, awards, skills, and then the writing sample. Just say why you want to participate in the program. My biggest advice in that essay is, people get into jobs for a lot of reasons. A lot of people, they want to help people, or they want to, just make a difference. It's kind of more the generic response. I definitely would rather try to go for more of, you want to like challenge yourself. You want to, see what opportunities, this could lead to, and just kind of make it more about just the experience itself and what you can gain from it, and also like what you can bring to the table for them. Because if you can show like both ways that, they can give you something and you can give them something, that's going to be very beneficial in deciding who they may want to bring on. So just try to make it more about, just what you can learn and, all that. And then just here, they'll have everything there. And then right here is where the documents, you just email it to them. And his contact information is here. You just need the 2 references, your resume and your transcript. So, and you just email it to them, and they'll get back to you. So that's a Republican application, and I imagine the Democratic one would be pretty much similar in nature.
I had a question really quick. When you were covering the 4 positions that you can apply for, can you apply for all 4 of them at the same time? Or is that how you, and then just
you can
select the preference
that
which one you wanted more?
Yeah, so let me go back here. Can you guys still see it or no?
It went away.
Oh yeah, I think maybe it went away. Okay. So when you go to the application, there's these 4 little drop-down boxes. So you would select yes or no for your preferred internship. They used to have it 1, 2, 3, 4. This changed from when I applied. They had it based on your preference. So it was like 1 to 4, 1 being your highest, 4 being your lowest. So in this sense, I would just say if you want to entertain 2 of them, say yes to both. And if you want to do 1, say yes. Or if you want to do all 4, say yes, and just see where it leads you. And then maybe attach like a note saying like you kind of want to lean more this way. But yeah, they used to do 1 through 4. It's yes and no now. So.
Cool. Thanks.
And if you want to do Democrat, I just looked it up. It's a little bit different. You'll look up the just Indiana House Democrats. You can even put internship, and it'll be like right there. It's saying for them their application deadline is October 30th. So it might even be the same for the Republicans. So I would say if you're thinking about it, you should probably. It's a quick decision, but you should get into it. And theirs is fairly similar to how they're. Yeah, if you just go here, you're sharing it. Wait, you stopped sharing your screen. Oh yeah. See if and then you can see you click ready to apply right there. Click there, and then their form is different a little bit, but it's all the same stuff. They have a little bit different with what you asked for. You see they have like the Indiana Black Legislative Caucus, legislative services, but it's pretty much the same. LA is like LA. Media relations, video production is probably gonna be their comm. Like I said, the only one that's new really from what we see is the Indiana Black Legislative Caucus, which I'm unfortunately I don't know too much about that. I knew one kid who was a part of it, but I don't know. I think it's just you're in LA for one of the members who is part of the Indiana Black Caucus. But like I said, this is it's fairly similar. The format's different, but a lot of the information is the same. I will add though, not by design of the internship, but design of Indiana politics, there is a supermajority for the Republicans in Indiana. So there are much less people who get accepted into the Indiana Democratic internship just based off the fact there are just less representatives. On the Senate, it's not as bad. I think it's still Republican favored, but not nearly as dominant. But at least in the House, it is a supermajority. So I believe there are maybe, I don't know the exact number. I think it's 80 plus Republicans, and then only like 20 Democrats. So that is, yeah.
Thanks, you two. Does anyone have any more questions for Nathan or Dustin? No. Dr. Uyang, do you have anything else?
Well, I mean, it's not a internship question, so I want to give everybody else a chance to ask theirs.
Sorry.
I guess I don't want to call it like, I don't know. It's not a very specific question, but if there's like one thing you could go back in time and redo or do differently, during the internship at the Statehouse, what would you do?
I eventually did, so I guess it wasn't an issue. But I guess I would have been a little bit more confident in the fact that this is how do I put it? Your reps, at least the ones I had, I don't know about Dustin, were very okay with me being pretty personal with them. At first, I was like scared to be like try to be like friendly with them. I was very professional. You do want to be professional. I'm not saying that, but I text them still, at least two of them, to this day. So I wish I would have been better at like trying to fulfill a relationship because like honestly they invite you to committee dinners. It's a good they're good people. They're looking out for you. So I would have wanted earlier on to pursue that a bit more. Now some of them will get annoyed if you're like trying to be like networking the entire time. Don't do that. There are some kids who did that. You can obviously tell who does that. That is obnoxious. All the reps they don't like that. They want you to be pretty. They just want you to be yourself. And I was concerned that they wouldn't want to deal with me because I was an intern. But like I said, at least for I'm prefacing because if you go for another thing, I heard the Senate Democrats great time. I've heard Senate Republicans not so good. Again I don't know, but from what I hear, how they treat people is different per caucus. But we both did Republicans. House Republicans, I'll recommend all day long. It was a great experience. They do a good job of. I've learned more about government in that time. I had a lot of good references. It's just good experience all around. So and the reps that I had, and a lot of them really do care about you. They'll remember you. Like I said, I met some of them like months later, and they were asking me about it. So and one of them they made me letters of recommendations even just like 2 weeks ago for a job I had. So definitely pursue a personal relationship, and I wish I would have did it more so. But
just to kind of pop in, like as someone who's actually applying for like the Indiana House of Representatives internship, like if you're going to apply for that, keep in mind that you can't save anything on the application. So get everything you need right then and there and then apply for it, because like once you do, like if you try to like pause and like keep it in your browser, you won't be able to like go back to it because all your information just kind of like wipes from the application. So like once you get in, like you have to apply for everything right there. And also I have another question for you guys about the House of Representatives for Republicans, I believe. You said that all you need is your 2 recommendations and your resume. Do you need a cover letter with that as well?
For me, I did not submit a cover letter with mine. I just submitted the 2 references and the resume, and then make sure you have your college transcript too, because they'll need that. That I believe that was on there also. But that's all I submitted, and I mean they didn't have a problem with that. But I don't think it would hurt to submit it. My mentality was if they're not asking for, I mean, I don't want to give them more than they're asking for. So, but I never had to give them one.
Okay.
yeah, I didn't either. I guess this goes along. A cover letter, I think would always be good. I didn't do it, but it's not like I say, it's not gonna be a bad thing. I think a good step, and cover letter won't do this, but they're very very good, especially the LAs. Like I knew an LA who would talk to me all the time because we had a good office, but they will catch interns or people that are applying for internships, and I asked him because he's just one of the senior LAs who does internships, who are what I guess a better word to put it would try to do a little bit too much. Cover letter doesn't do that. Absolutely put a cover letter if you want to. That's definitely professional and acceptable. But like I don't know what I'm trying to say. I think you can kind of follow like people that are like trying to be pretty fake about like what they are. Like if you don't know something or you like and you're a little bit confused about it, I think they would appreciate you during your interview process to just be honest about, ask like questions. Like don't try to act like you know everything because they know that you don't. This is not a job they're expecting you to like be proficient at from the beginning, or like they just want people that are hard workers, interested in the topic, and are willing to work. Like, and especially like if you're going to apply for the Republicans and you're a Democrat, they're okay with you being Democrat. In fact, they'll ask you who you like, your alignment, who your favorite president, things like that. They just want you to be aware of that. Like you're going to be working with a course load that you might not agree with politically, which is like even as a Republican or a Democrat, you may not even agree with like what your rep is doing. Because I know for me, I had reps who disagreed on bills. So like when I answered a phone call for one rep, I had to say something to one person. When I answered a phone call for another rep, I had to say something. So it just be yourself. I mean, that goes along. I know you asked only about a cover letter, but I am just taking this time to preface, like, never try to do too much than what you do. A cover letter is good, but going into the interview, don't try to like do anything like that you wouldn't do normally. You know what I mean?
Okay. Thank you.
And then I guess Jasmine, just because I've had issues with that before, I usually, using the application as an example, just like get the categories that you need to fill out for the application, especially the longer ones, do it in a Google Doc so that it's like constantly automatically saving, so that you won't run into that, because that's happened to me before. You work on something and then the page goes away or something and then it's all deleted, so that's fun. But Dustin, did you want to answer the question of like what's one thing that you would do differently from the internship?
Yeah. So I would say try to get. I wish I would have got more out of the cubicle, and like interacted more with like the other rooms. At the end of the day, like, yeah, like there was weekends we like went out after, like most of the interns got together, and I mean that was always fun. But and during the day you're not going to have a lot of time to do that. But you do get a little bit of downtime to where that is possible, as long as your LA is okay with it. And then they usually, as long as they have to have someone covering the room, like LA and intern wise. But I kind of wish, I just got out more like in the other cubicles during like the work hours to just, interact a bit more with everybody. Like I said, it is hard to do that. And I mean, a lot of interns had that problem, and I think we all kind of wanted to be able to do that more, but it's just the nature of the work and everything. But yeah, I mean, aside from that, I mean, that's pretty much the only thing I probably wish I would have done over, that I can think of offhand. But yeah, I mean, like I said, just take advantage of, the free time that you're going to get, and like, just go out with, everybody that you meet down there. 'Cause I mean, you're not going to forget all that stuff. That's going to be the stuff, that you remember. I mean, obviously the experience overall, you're going to remember, but you're going to remember, like just the, the connections you made, the friendships you made. That's going to go a long way. Cause I mean, there's, when I got there, there's, two of the LAs that were on, they got brought on that year also as LAs. They, I work with them at HRCC. So, I mean, I kind of already, had those connections there, and that's going to switch off either way you go. Like Nathan, for example, he said he's doing HRCC now, or he applied for it, I think, either way. And there's people that also did that. They did the internship first and then did HRCC, or vice versa. And you're going to run into all these people, and just make sure you keep those connections. I mean, it's great. They're great to have. Jack Thomas, that Nathan was his LA. I worked with him at HRCC. So I mean, I knew him, pretty well, and he's a good guy. But just take advantage of all that. Jasmine, HRCC is the House Republican Campaign Committee. That is they're based in Indy. They are in charge of essentially the fundraising and the campaigns for the House Republicans throughout the state. So they're the ones that get to determine basically like who gets funding for their election and who doesn't, because there's some races that they're not going to pile a lot of money into because they know it's not going to be a good outcome for them. So they're not going to waste their money on it. So and that's actually one of the cool sides about doing both. And I definitely recommend it if you're into that stuff. You get to see like how, both sides intertwine with each other, and you definitely get to see, not that I essentially advocate for it, but you do see that the current, the incumbents are the ones that HRC usually works for. So like during their primary, if they have like 3 Republicans, they're usually going to go for the one that's already in the seat regardless, unless they're just like way out in left field. But I mean, it is kind of interesting because you get to see how it really works versus, kind of like the general, pain of how things sometimes are. So
Okay, thanks you two. It is 6 o'clock. So if anyone has any last minute questions for our two lovely guests, thank you guys so much for coming and talking to us about the internship. Very informative. And it sounds like a lot of fun.
I think Yang had one, I think. Or I don't know. He said earlier.
It wasn't
Okay.
internship related. But you know, both of you internships, you've either worked for HRCC or in the process of doing so. Do the sort of the politics of the State House show up among the interns or affected you all's work at all?
For me, no. I mean, there was arguments we got into, yeah, but I mean that's gonna happen, you know, with a lot of people, and just topic in general. But they were always civil. I mean, you know, we always just went back and forth. You know, there was actually like my or my room, even the LAs, the interns that were in each room. I mean, we'd always like talk about a bill and, you know, whether we agreed with it or not, disagreed with it, you know, and it was always cool because you got to see like different viewpoints. And I mean, overall, everybody, you know, either made like a slight joke, but like, you know, kind of like, okay. But everyone's really respectful down there. There won't be any issues with, you know, if you disagree or agree on something at all.
Yeah, I mean, kind of the same. I mean, at the end of the day, the politics you're working with are not necessarily even your views; it's your reps' views. There are some reps that are a little bit more extreme than other. There's really one rep in particular. I don't know if there's Representative Nisley, if you do get assigned to him, that is a completely different experience because he's kind of an outlier in the Republican Party. So whoever gets Nisley kind of has. One of my friends had knives. That's why I said I don't know if Dustin had the same thoughts about that. But so you'll joke about those bills. I know because of a certain bill he put forward. I won't get into detailed politics of it, but there's about a 2-week span where people are calling our office about it, and we're always transferring calls or dealing with stuff. And some constituents are more bad than others. But for the most part, the politics, you get to see how the politics intertwines between reps. Like, for instance, one of my reps, and I'm not going to put his name, got pretty upset with another rep with some of the political games he did with moving one of his bills to a certain committee. I got to see firsthand. It's really cool how he handled it. I mean, he was pretty intense. But you won't ever. I mean, I don't know if one of you, your interns should not get upset at each other. Maybe in your class, one intern gets a little bit too passionate about their rep, but for the most part, the reps will get pretty heated with each other in the sense of how there is political games. That's the most part. Lobbyists will come in all of this, but the interns will, for the most part, just do whatever their rep wants them to do, and everyone understands that. So.
And yes, I second the comment Emily put up. So if possible, let's turn on our cameras so we could get a group photo for posterity. Let's do that. So 10 years down the road, when any of you are running for office, just know that this photograph of you exists out there on the internet.
Give me like 1 second.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure if my.
Dr. Rinker might be away, but that's okay.
Let's see. Because it's plugged. Okay. Hi.
Do you have it, Uyang? Do you want me to do it? I can do it. I'll do it.
I mean, I'm taking photos on a phone, so.
I'll do a lap.
So if you're on a computer.
Okay, everyone. 3, 2, 1. Oh wait, shit. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Pardon my language. Okay, sorry. My laptop's weird.
It's recorded, you know that, right?
I got a picture if you didn't get it.
Oh, you did? Okay, that's fine. I forgot my laptop's weird. Sorry. Thank you, Viviana. Always coming in for the save. Always. Okay.
So if any of you run against her in the future, just know that, you know, there's a video of her cursing on, you know, in a student meeting. So.
And forgetting how to use my own laptop. That's cool. Okay. Everyone, thank you again for coming. Just so you do know, we have an election night event. We're going to be delivering some pizza to some people. So if you're interested, get back to us, either Dr. Yang or myself, like by tomorrow, with the address that you'll have, or that where you'll be the night of the election, so we can send you some pizza.
Oh, also tomorrow for our event, wear red.
Thank you.
Yeah, remember to wear red.
Thank you for the reminder. So tomorrow at 12 o'clock, we'll have Dr. George Edwards from Texas A&M University speaking to us on Zoom. So it should be a fantastic event. So please join us at noon tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Thanks again, everyone.
Thanks, Dustin. Thanks, Nathan.
Thanks.
Thank you for having us.
Yep.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Night.